going to start with pretty high grit sandpaper here. I think this is 1500 wet dry. I really just want to go over this just to remove any of the active rust that's on it. I'm not really concerned with polishing it up all that much. I usually don't polish my razors. And this is just to make sure there's no active rust on it when the guy starts shaving with it. The bevel is not that big of a concern because it's going to get cleaned off when it's honed. I'm mostly just going a little bit further behind the bevel onto the sides of the blade, face and the back. Tang, there's always going to be rust in there. You can fold the paper in and get in there if you really care about it. It's not a big deal for me. This one's already been rescaled, so not too concerned about that compromising the peening. Just get around there, but if you really want to, you can go down in here. If you're doing a full restore job, you'd probably pull this off the scales, clean the whole thing independently of the scales, and then put it back together. But alright. I didn't see that's not really polished up. I just want to make sure there's no rust going on it. Now, I'm going to do a pretty standard honing here. I haven't decided yet what finisher I'm going to go to, but I'm going to go start here on my 1200, go to my 8K, and then pick a finisher and go there. Alright, you can already tell it's a little fat at the heel, so I'm going to try to focus the heel down a little bit. It pretty much just goes to a point. It's just been honed a little toe heavy in the past. The bevel's probably going to get a little bit fat at the heel as a result of this, but it's going to straighten it out a little bit. Now, I didn't check this thing for microchips or anything under the scope before I started here. There probably were some. There was a little bit of rust on the bevel, but I'm gonna be taking enough material off that it's not gonna be a concern. I'm gonna be entirely into a fresh edge. If I were trying to remove a lot less material, if it was a razor that looked like it had been polished or looked like it was in really good shape, or if I checked it and the bevel was solid, I probably would take it to the scope, or if I were smart, I'd take it to the scope first, just to make sure that there were no chips I couldn't see that I needed to get out of there. You can also check that with a thumb pad test or something like that, but just going down the scope, if I had the eyepiece in it instead of the camera, is a relatively easy procedure. You can do it with a loop too if you trust that you can see something that is significant with the loop. There's some chips that I can't even see at 100x that I'd rather not have in my razor. So I like the 400x, or if I didn't have the 400x, I'd probably just use a thumb pad test. Yeah, this is already a set bevel. I'm just going to try to clean it up a little bit, still get a little bit more wear on that heel, because it's still lagging a little bit behind. I'm not going to do a full straight razor, but it's going to be a little bit of an improvement over where it was. Because I don't want to lose too much depth on it. If there had been a serious chip in this, I would have gone to the 600. I mean, I have some low as 60 grit hones, but they don't cut much faster than the 600 DMT, and they're a lot harder to clean up, and the edge just in general is not nearly as nice. So I'll almost never take a razor to anything below the 600 DMT, just because there's no reason to. With knives, I'll go lower fairly often. I actually don't use the 600 on my knives very much because I prefer oil stones with them. Gives you a little more when you got the small bevel and you're driving, and you're freehand honing, I guess is the term. Just when you can put some more pressure on it, the oil stones cut quite a bit faster, remove more material, and on knives having a little bit of that more varied, more toothy edge to it, which is what the DMTs aren't particularly good at. Is a benefit in a lot of cases, whereas with razors, you generally don't want that. You want a smooth edge and a regular edge, which is what the DMTs kind of excel at. Now this is the 800 DMT. Let's see if I got a towel here I can use for a base. I don't, so we'll just throw a little piece of paper down, just keep this sliding. Keep that sliding to a minimum. Now, I think I mentioned before, a lot of people don't like the 800 or the 8K DMT. I know a lot of people who like the 1.2 for beveling, but I might be the only person I'm aware of who goes to the 8K DMT with razors. I'm sure there's others, but I'm probably the only active one on the forums who uses it. I think it gives a great edge. It's by far the fastest stone in its grit range, or fastest honing device, I should say, in its grit range. It leaves a really nice, really even edge. The only reason I could see not going to it is if for some reason, like if you were using a JIS set and you were able to skip it, like if you had, I don't know, 1K, 3K Nanawa, there really wouldn't be a purpose to go with this after a 3K Nanawa. You just want to go to like a 5 or an 8K Nanawa. But going off of the 1.2 DMT, I don't see any reason to use anything else. It cleans up the DMT from the scratches from the 1.2K really well, leaves you with a good baseline for going to almost any finisher. Really slow ones you might have some problems with, but the 8K mesh or the 4K JIS, which are approximately equivalent stones, work for Codacules that work for Thuringians. I haven't found a JNAT they won't work for. With some work, you can even go to something like a Arkansas. They work fine with the Apache stones. Almost any synth. I mean, I can go to my 13K JIS off of this, and with a little bit of work, it'll be fine. There's the Ecret stone, the first generation one that he had, the gray one, was too slow to go to off of this. It was actually why I was running into a lot of problems. He was telling me he's going off of an 8K and he's getting great edges, and I'm like, man, it just doesn't seem fast enough to me to go off an 8K. But he was talking about a JIS, which is a lot finer than one of these, so that would explain the problems I was having. But yeah, for almost any stone that is typically used to finish razors, these are plenty fast. This should be good for the 8K. I'm just checking this right now because the 8K has a tendency to give you a little curl at the edge, and then you'll lose cutting ability. It usually doesn't matter if you're going straight to something else, but just for the sake of knowing what I've got when I go to the next stone, I like to make sure I clean it off and I'm back to cutting hair well. Yeah, that's almost there. One more pass will be good. All right. Now it's got an 8K edge on it. I'm gonna, let's see. I think a Thuringian edge is probably the best way to go on this. That'll be nice, sharp edge, also smooth. I think the guy, I actually don't remember the guy. It's been a while since I offered to hunt it for the guys, but I think this is his first razor, so I want to give him something nice to go with one of my light greens. I got two almost identical light green 10 inches. Worked really well. They're nice and soft, they're fast, and they leave a really nice, smooth, non-aggressive edge. Basically, with the Thuringians, I've never found that you really need the slurry. I use it more just to keep the stone clean and to like I still got a couple scratches on here from that's been there since I got it. I figured slurrying out now and then I'm gonna slowly work those out. But yeah, on stones that are smaller than this, I guess on my 2-inch wide Thuringians, I tend to use a slurry stone. On my 1.5s and smaller, I usually don't. I don't think I've ever, except maybe as an experiment, bothered slurrying when I was using the surface of a 5x1. They actually, some of the boxes, the celebrated boxes or the genuine boxes, actually say rubber razor on it until you raise the slurry. I think they call it a slime, the honing slime that increases the cutting efficacy or something like that. Yeah, pretty interesting boxes. But yeah, on the 2-inch wides, I tend to start with a little bit of slurry, then I'll clean it off, then finish on clean water. Thuringians seem to have very little difference between slurry and water, at least the softer ones. The harder ones, it's a little more noticeable. But yeah, on these soft ones, I could probably stop on slurry and not even know the difference. But just out of habit, I like going to water afterwards. Now, like I said, because I stopped on what is effectively a 4K GIS on that 8K DMT, I'm going to do quite a few laps here. The Thuringians are actually really fast stones, so if you're going to this off of like an 8K JIS, something along those lines, you'd probably be done already on it, but I'm going to do a little more time here and then switch to water. It's shifting a little bit on me. There we go. Other than being honed a little toe heavy and having a little bit of pitting on it, not a significant amount, just a little bit, this razor is actually in pretty good condition. It doesn't have a ton of hone wear. Should be a nice starter razor. It's got a nice round tip. It's good hollow ground. Looks like it's an American made of German steel, but let's see. No, it says it's German. Reppenhagen? Diamondine, number 7. Right at the very bottom of the heel. I'm not quite getting the contact I'd like, so I'm going to spend a little extra time taking care of that. Probably didn't finish it up on the 8K. Didn't notice it there, but I should be able to pull it in on this stone. It's mostly on the drawback, on the, I guess that would be with the facing side up, so with the back side down on the hone. Not quite getting as nice contact at the heel as I'd like. So I'm going to just keep working that till it does. Alright. Let me go to water here. Like I said, because I don't see that there's much difference on this stone between water and slurry, I'm not overly careful making sure I wash all the slurry off. It doesn't really matter all that much to me. Not like with my J-Nats, I'm a lot more careful. I want to make sure I get all the slurry off when I use them. Now this is done except for that one spot at the heel I talked about. I can still feel it dragging a little bit there. It's almost there though. I would say another dozen passes will be there. Yeah, it's almost there now. There we go. Alright. And that is why I love Thuringians. There is no second guessing that this is done. The feedback off of these things is just amazing. That actually took a lot longer because, like I said, I'm pretty sure I didn't notice on the 8K that right here was dragging probably about almost a centimeter in on the heel. So I just fixed it up on the Thuringian. And that was a start to finish honing. Like I said, the bevel might have been set. I didn't even bother checking it because there was some rust on it, so I needed to clean it up anyway. But pretty straightforward progression. Nice little razor. I'm going to do a test shave with it, and then I'll throw it in some barbicide, drop it up, and get it back to the guy. Thanks for watching.